images will be retained and broadcast by the Council. If anyone intends to record today's meeting, please ensure that this does not disturb the conduct of the meeting. Please ensure that your mobile phones are switched to silent or switched off. Thank you. I will now commence the formalities of the meeting. Item 1, apologies for absence. Do we have any apologies? Thank you. Item 2, exclusions of the public and press. Appendix F in the agenda papers contain restricted information. Therefore, if any member wishes to discuss information contained in Appendix F, the public and press will be excluded from the meeting, but will then be brought back into the hearing after those deliberations. In addition, please note that when the subcommittee goes into deliberation to determine the decision, all public and press will be excluded from the meeting. They will then be brought back into the meeting to hear the subcommittee's decision. Item 3, declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest? No, thank you. Item 4, application for a new premises licence for Go Local 20 Langer Street, Exthorpe, Doncaster, DN40EX. We're here today to discuss an application for a new premise licence for Go Local, address already stated. All parties who have indicated that they wish to address the subcommittee will be given the opportunity to speak. The procedure we will be following is set out in the report. Has everyone had a copy of the report? Yeah, thank you. Everyone's had time to read it, I would hope. Can I invite the senior licensing practitioner to introduce the item? Thank you.
Thank you. This hearing is to determine an application for a new premise licence in respect of Go Local 2 Langer Street in Exthorpe. The application is for a new premise licence to operate the premises as a convenience store, permitting the sale of alcohol for consumption off the premises. The premises concerned previously operated as a bar licensed to sell alcohol and provide regulated entertainment. Due to the proposed change of operation, the applicant has chosen to apply for a new premise licence rather than transfer and vary the existing licence. A summary of the existing premise licence, which shows the permitted licensable activities and condition, is shown in Appendix E. I can confirm that the application has been correctly advertised and that the mandatory consultation has taken place. Late in the consultation period, several representations were received, including 2 petitions both in support and in objection to the application. The representations are shown in the members' report at Appendix F. Please be aware that the petition against the shop has now been withdrawn and should be disregarded by the committee. I ask that you also disregard the objection in Appendix F, page 42, as this has been withdrawn by the objector. They have contacted the licensing department and informed us that they had not made this representation themselves. I can confirm that all the required notices of the hearing have been given and all parties have been made aware of the procedure to be followed at the hearing, both in the notes that accompany the notice of hearing and in the hearing papers. The options available to the committee when making its determination are detailed in the report. Thank you.
Red button? Yes, it is. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Ian Rushton. I'm a licensing consultant, and this is Mr. McKeithen, who's the applicant and the proposed DPS today. So as you've heard and as you've seen from the papers, this is a brand new business which will operate as a general convenience store, which will sell a wide range of goods such as bread, milk, snacks, groceries, soft drinks, lottery tickets and services such as PayPoint, etc. So this will be a local convenience store for the benefit of the local community. The alcohol sales that are proposed today will just be a part of the overall business, offering customers a selection of beers, wines and spirits. This isn't a shop that will just focus on alcohol. It will sell a wide range and variety of goods, and hopefully once it's open in the future will become an asset in the local community. So this application is just about the sale of alcohol. It's a licence application. It's not about the merits of a shop or whether a shop is needed in the area. And I'll come on to that in a little bit. As you're aware from what Hayley has said and from your papers, this site used to be a pub called the Star Bar, which licence is still valid. They have a 2 o'clock licence 6 days a week and until midnight on Sundays. And they can also provide entertainment such as music, live music until various times during the week. The pub can actually stay open till 2:30. The pub licence remains valid because we did check that with the council, but it only allows people to consume alcohol on site, and obviously all the conditions and the floor plan were all geared towards a pub rather than a convenience store, which is why rather than transfer the licence and apply to change the licence, we just applied for a brand new licence at the very beginning. This new licence application request off sales and the proposed closing time is is 3 hours less than what the pub could actually open. So in our minds, there'll be certainly less inconvenience for the local people. With the application, we've submitted a floor plan. So as you walk into the shop, the sales counter will be on the left, and there'll be a selection of beers and wines away from the main entrance, so people can't come in and just try to steal or to shoplift any alcohol. Alcohol will be well supervised by the staff and kept away from the main entrance. We anticipate around 15% of the floor space will be from the alcohol sales. Mr. McKeitheren is an experienced operator. There'll be 4 or 5 staff working different shifts in the new business. He's the DPS, so he's well trained. The staff will all be well trained, and the staff, there'll be sufficient staff on duty, certainly at the busier times, which clearly will be the weekend. So just a little bit about the applicant, Mr. McKeitheren. He's a married man. He's got 3 young children. He's lived in Doncaster for 9 years. So he knows the local area really well. He's got over 15 years retail and licensing experience of working in and managing licensed convenience stores. So clearly he knows what he's doing, and he's not coming into this business as a complete novice. He has all that experience. He's actually already got 3 licensed convenience stores in Doncaster, which are at South Street, Bolby Road and Hackleton Street. So those shops have already got a license. They run well. There's been no issues or complaints or problems with the authorities, no records of any underage sales. If there weren't any problems with with the existing shops, then you would have your licensing training standards or the police here today to make representations. His wife, it's a family business. His wife helps run the business. She also has a personal license and she manages the shop at Bolby Road. Mr. McKeitheren has invested significantly in this new business. He's actually bought the property freehold, so he's committed to this area and he plans on being here long term. So he's actually the owner of this property. Just briefly on Mr. McKeitheren, he has all the experience that you would expect, a clean record, and he knows how to run a licensed convenience store. In terms of the application, Chair, we have put forward a detailed set of licence conditions. I'm not going to go through each and every single one of them because you would have read the application beforehand, but just to highlight maybe a couple of the more important licence conditions. There will be a good quality CCTV system which will cover every inch of the shop inside. There'll also be cameras covering the front and the back of the shop to offer the complete protection and surveillance. The shop will have 32 cameras covering inside and outside the shop. Images will of course be kept as required for 28 days and made available to the police or to the council should they ever need to view the images. The shop would keep an incident log. They'll keep an alcohol refusals book. Staff will monitor the area outside to check if any local youths are beginning to hang around and take steps to prevent it. They will use the Challenge 25 underage policy to prevent any issues with underage sales and other age-restricted goods. And we'll also put notices up asking customers to be respectful and to leave the area, quietly as they leave. Each member of staff, before they are allowed to sell any alcohol, will be suitably trained, and we've submitted examples of the types of due diligence and the record keeping that will be used at the shop. Again, in terms of staff training, I'll be doing the staff training, and we provided evidence of all the Merseyside policy of knockback training, which covers everything that staff need to be aware of in terms of proxy sales, Challenge 25, record keeping and how to refuse a sale. So everything is in place, and it's what we do in Mr. McKeithren's other shops as well. Chair, we say that these conditions are comprehensive and they have been accepted by each one of the responsible authorities. And again, I think it speaks volumes about this application that none of your responsible authorities in Doncaster are here today to oppose this application. In particular, we know how important the police are in a licensing application. They're your main source of information on crime and antisocial behaviour in the area. They're satisfied that the application would promote the licensing objectives. Again, just for the record, it's outlined in your report, but all of the other authorities, including training standards, licensing itself, safeguarding and environmental health, all haven't raised any concerns about the application. There's also no objections from the local ward councillors for the area. In terms of the representations, obviously we note the representations, and there are people clearly for the application because we provided evidence of support, and there's some people who are opposed to the application. I heard what Hayley said, and we've had some emails. There has been a number of people who've subsequently withdrawn their objections. Again, I'm not entirely sure what's going on, but those people, certainly at least one of them, have said that they didn't submit an objection letter and have subsequently decided to withdraw their comments. There's 20 letters of support and a petition that we've submitted in favour of the application. So again, we'd ask you to give the support letters equal weight as to the representations against the application. One of the support letters is from the lady who used to be the DPS, the manager at the Star Bar. She lives locally, and another supporter who submitted a written letter in support of the application is the lady who lives in flat 2B, which is directly above the premises. She's also been looking to work in this property once the business is ready to open. Some of the issues raised by the objectors include matters which you'll be aware of, including traffic, parking and the needs for the shop. As you know today, Chair, and again with respect to the objectors who mentioned those issues, they are important matters, but they're not matters relevant for a licensing application, and they can't be taken into account today. However, in terms of trying to cooperate with the local residents, Mr McKeithen, he will put a notice up on the premises asking people to be aware of parking issues and to try to park respectfully and, and not to cause any unnecessary obstruction by their parking. In terms of ASB, Chair, every single area, I think, in the country has issues with antisocial behaviour, but we say it's not something that should just be blamed or attributed to a local shop or to any local business, and obviously this is a brand new business which hasn't even opened yet. The police deal with antisocial behaviour in the area and they raise no objections to this application. Mr McKeithen has all the experience, but as you know, Chair, licence holders can only deal with what happens certainly inside their premises and in the area outside the premises. He will do everything that he can to make sure that there's no disruption to local people. Finally, Chair, just to summarise, this shop will sell alcohol responsibly. The licence conditions demonstrate this. Litter is also mentioned, I think, by a couple of the objectors. And again, as part of the application, we have already committed to doing litter checks outside the shop to make sure that the area is as clean and tidy as possible. And the staff will do those checks and make sure litter is picked up and disposed of suitably. Chair, this will be a well-run shop. The evidence supports that a licence should be granted today, and as such, we'd ask you to approve the application. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. I will now ask the subcommittee members if they have any questions for the applicant and the applicant's representatives. Councillor?
Yes, good afternoon. I'm not really sure how to pronounce your second name. Gita. Makita, all right, Makita. Yeah. I just wondered, I noticed this was an old public house, and I think it's been converted into certain flats above. It mentioned in your appraisal, Mr. Rushton, that a future member of staff might be living up there. I just wondered, have you any intentions to move your family into that premise? Okay, thank you.
It's okay, Chair. I can just repeat. At the minute, Mr. McKeither he doesn't live in the property. He has a property elsewhere.
Thank you. Any other members got any questions? No? Okay.
Probably one I don't know where it's aimed at, to be honest, whether it's yourself. I think it's more at Hayley. If this new licence is granted, does this cancel the old licence?
No, it won't. No.
If I may just explore that a little bit further, so will that licence just continue in perpetuity unless it's withdrawn, or is there not a bit of a tidying up exercise to do?
So any premise can have a number of existing premise licence on it. So in the future, they may apply for a third or fourth. It doesn't cancel out any previous ones. The only way that they would be cancelled is if they were surrendered by the existing licence holder.
Sorry, and the existing licence holder is the previous tenant, landlord or owner of the building, is that correct?
I don't have that information on who they are for that business. I just know it's held by an individual. If it was a limited company and that company dissolved, then that would automatically ensure that the licence lapsed. But because it's an individual, it's an ongoing one until they say they wish to surrender it.
Okay.
Chair, if I may be able just to clarify that position a little bit. Yet, obviously, I've got a copy of the current licence with me. I believe he is the previous owner of the property. Mr. McKeither knows him, and the plan, certainly moving forward, subject to a licence for the new business being approved, then I understand that the existing licence by the previous owner will be surrendered, because there's no need to keep that licence in place. It all kind of depends upon the result today.
So I just wanted to clarify why I wanted to know, because I was worried, obviously. We've got 2:30 mentioned for music and things. I didn't want there to be granted your licence but then start playing music at daft o'clock.
There's no way that can happen. I mean, the experience of Mr. McKeither, it's a shopkeeper, for want of a better phrase. He's not a pub licensee. There's no intention to provide live music till 2:30. Under the new licence that Mr. McKeither would have responsibility for, the licensable activities would finish at 11 p.m.
Thank you.
Okay, I just wanted, it's not really a question, just really, I'm pleased that the applicant has agreed that he will try and keep on top of litter, but I'm sure you'll appreciate that's just an agreement, an understanding we come to rather than anything that we can impose. So while it's welcome, I would ask that the spirit of that is, fully entered into, because obviously if we were to bring the applicant back because he didn't keep the front clean, we wouldn't be able to take his licence away. You'll understand that. So I just wanted to ensure that people in the chamber understand that that's not a condition that we can impose.
Yeah, just on that point, Chair, I mean, that's a valid point. I mean, litter, as you know, in the general locality, I mean, it is a particular bugbear of mine that adults will just drop litter in any local area. What the staff will do, and Mr. McKeither, as the owner of the property, he wants to make sure that the business is as welcoming and as clean and tidy for customers to use. So the last thing he wants, as the local residents, is any litter certainly by their shop, because that gives a bad impression for anybody visiting the shop. Just to confirm, I mean, the investments in this business, it will be moving forward operated as a Go Local franchise, and they have certain standards that any of their franchisees in terms of Go Local, they have to comply with. So everything will be in place to make sure this is a nice, professional, clean shop.
Okay, thank you for that. So if we're all done from the committee, then I will invite interested parties who are making objections to ask any questions in relation to the applicant's submission.
It's just asking questions. It's not, you'll get an opportunity to put your case forward. It's just, this bit is if you've got any questions for them.
To be perfectly honest, I find it difficult to understand, firstly, what the need for the shop is, but as for keeping the shop front tidy, it's by the by, it's the streets that's going to suffer.
Yeah, Rupert, it's quite a formal process, this, isn't it? It's kind of difficult to navigate round. So, but so we're fair to both parties. We have to follow a kind of procedure.
Yeah.
So, while it's while your comments may have some justification, that's for the next part that I'm going to come to. So just to clarify, if you've got, obviously you've heard what the applicant and the representative said to us. So the opportunity. And I appreciate you might not have realised that the meeting would run this way. But it's for you to, from what you've heard, is there any questions that you have for the applicant directed through myself as chair that you would like to ask?
Well, not at this point then. No.
That's okay, yeah. That's fine. But I realise it's formal and it's difficult to kind of to follow the process, but we do have to follow that process. So so now I will now ask you if there's to address the subcommittee, sorry, with your thoughts or your objections. Thank you.
Again, I mean, that all sounds fantastic. It sounds like it's going to be, really nice. But practicality of it all is, it's Hexthorpe. It doesn't operate like that. You talk about keeping streets clean. I clean our street every single day from Glenfield Avenue to Hexthorpe Park. I spend hours each morning with bags, collecting litter and putting them in the local bins. Firstly, I don't see any reason to have a shop there. There's no benefit whatsoever. There's one 50 yards away. It takes 20 seconds to walk to that shop. That shop is more than suffice. It's been there 20 plus years, family run business. Just going to drive that business out. Can't understand why there's even a thought process of having that business located there. The access to it is horrendous. The street's almost one way. The only other access will be passing via the primary school and coming down Glenfield Avenue, which again, it's a cul-de-sac, dead-end street. Primary school, the corner's horrendous. You struggle to get the bins emptied each week there. So having deliveries and things, if they're going to come that way, that won't work. You've got, again, we'll go on about the litter. The litter is horrendous. It's not just a problem, it's a problem throughout the whole of Hexthorpe. If we're just going to keep granting licences for shops, we're just going to end up with what we've got on Hexthorpe Road, which is just almost a no-go zone. It is just, you're treading through litter. It's absolutely outrageous. The council can't do anything about it because it happens on the hour, every hour. It's awful. So, we mentioned the access to that shop. There's residents that live directly opposite. They're never ever going to be able to get parked on the streets because all the shop customers are just going to come in, park on their drive. They're never ever going to be able to get home from work or leave the street. It's a hard junction to pull out of onto Urban Road. So, I would imagine you'll have issues with residents that can't get parked on their own drive. And like I say, if the traffic then decides it's going to flow better and come through Glenfield Avenue, it's probably one of the only 2 or 3 streets in Hexthorpe left where people feel comfortable letting their children out to play. You're just going to create havoc with more and more cars, more and more traffic. Like I say, you've got the primary school on the corner. It's just, I just don't see the point of having the shop there. There's no reason for it to be there. Again, we talk about residents. 10 feet away from the door, you've got pensioners living in bungalows. It's bad enough having the residents that are living above that shop, let alone having the shop there as well. So those pensioners, I can't imagine anything worse than having an off licence, serving alcohol till 11 o'clock at night. Having to listen to all that till 11 o'clock at night. It's bad enough as it is, let alone bringing more and more whatever you get from shops. We all know it's antisocial behaviour, litter, noise. So for me, I can't understand the need for it. I can't understand why it even be a thought process. It's, like I say, there's a shop right there on the corner next to it. Proper access, I can't work out why we're even here having this chat. It just seems a strange thing to do. If you look in Exthorpe right now, shop after shop after shop, all you've got is litter after litter after litter, antisocial behaviour after antisocial behaviour. It's not just, you know, let's just keep granting licences to Exthorpe and forget about the decent residents that are left in it. We're all fed up with having to pick. I'm picking litter up every single day. It's just, it goes too far with Exthorpe. It's almost like, if you don't live here, you don't care. Let's just keep granting whatever we want there. Put as many different people in there and just walk away, because it's not our problem. It's the people who live there that have got these problems. And for me, there's 2 or 3 streets left in Exthorpe where you'd say, they're nice. Well, it won't be in 6 months' time. So, you know.
Does the gentleman at the side, sorry, but I've not got my long distance glasses on, so I can't see properly to address you by name. Have you got something that you would like to say? Okay, that's great. So I'd like to invite the committee if they have any questions for the objectors. Okay, yeah, thank you.
I just want to say, I'm not sure if you're aware or not, Mr. Oxley, unfortunately the need isn't for this committee to appreciate. And regarding other licences, unless people like yourselves coming along and object, unfortunately they get granted whether we like it or not. So yeah, I appreciate it. I wasn't sure if you were aware of that or not. So thank you.
Thank you. I'd just like to add to that, you know, it can be frustrating, and obviously we are all councillors in Doncaster, and we're aware of some of the issues in Exthorpe. How can we not be, even though you know, we're not councillors for that area? But the licensing committee sets apart from any politics or any other local issues. It is, you know, it is there. Someone can legally apply for a licence regardless of what me, you or anyone else may think for a premise, and then we have to judge it on its merit against the licensing criteria. And you know, as much as it doesn't always make sense, and you know, litter is clearly, you know, the focus of you know, one of your main objection really, but that's not something that actually licensing can really take account of in you know, this is not what we set. It's a frustration, and we sometimes are frustrated, but you know, the licensing law is set by central government, and we have to judge applications by that legislation. And if we weren't to do that, then that would, quite rightly, the applicants would appeal and probably win if we were to refuse a licence for the wrong reasons. So again, I appreciate it's a formal setting, it's a difficult process, but I just, you know, wanted to explain that to you, so you have maybe a little bit more understanding, having been here, than you might have done when you first arrived. We're going to move on now. So I'll now ask the applicant representative if they wish to ask any questions in relation to the interested parties' submission. So it's over to yourselves to, you know, if you want to ask any questions. Again, if you can do it through me as the chair, then it might make it easier.
No questions, Chair.
So all parties have had an opportunity to address the committee and to summarise their submissions. I will now ask the applicant representative if they wish to summarise their submission.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Sorry, I thought we were going second, but that's fine. That's okay, no problem. I will try to keep this pretty brief, Chair, and just to try to make a couple of the bullet points, if that's okay. Firstly, we have put forward a comprehensive set of licensing conditions. The alcohol is just a part of the business, and there will be extensive measures in place to strictly control and regulate the sale of alcohol. Today, as you've already confirmed, today is just about the sale of alcohol. It's not about the need for the shop, and you know, you clearly understand the rules around that. The premises already has a licence in place with a 2 o'clock finish. Our application is actually for 3 hours less with an 11 p.m. closing time. So again, that's the same licence as the nearby shop. So we say what we put forward is a reasonable and proportionate application today. The objectors may not like me saying this, but there isn't any evidence today to support the objections which have been submitted. As you know, it's a legal process today, where evidence is crucial, and this is an evidence-based process today. There are powers to deal with matters such as ASB in the area, litter issues. There are powers and authorities that can deal with that. All an applicant can do is to be as responsible as they can. My client has 3 businesses already in Doncaster which run well, and we say he will promote the licensing objectives today. He doesn't want to upset any local residents. He doesn't want to have any litter near his shop, because ultimately the people that have objected hopefully may become customers in the future. So he wants to cooperate as much as he's allowed to. The police and the authorities all have no objections to this application. You've already said matters such as car parking, traffic and need, they're not relevant today, so I just need to get that confirmed. If there ever was a problem with this premises, or indeed any licensed premises, there is the licensing review process that can be utilised correctly. So if there was a problem, then residents can call for any licensed premises to come back before this panel, and you can consider what they say. The applicants here today, plenty of experience. We've tried to minimise any impact on the local residents in accordance with paragraph 611 of your policy. This shop chair will promote the licensing objectives, and we say the application should be granted as requested today. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. I'd now like to ask you if you want to add anything to summarise your objections, if there's anything else that you would like to put before the committee.
Well, other than the points that I've already made, it's difficult to understand if we're not here to talk about the reasons why not, just the reason to have or not have a licence. It seems almost like a pointless episode for me even having my point, because all that seems to be happening is you're just going to discuss whether he has a licence or not whether granting a licence basically just leads to everything I've just discussed, all your litter, your antisocial behaviour. So I'm not quite understanding why.
It's difficult to explain in a very short time, obviously, in the chamber when we sort of sit in.
But what I mean is, by granting a licence, all that you're doing is just giving the green light to everything that comes with it.
Well, I mean, I can't get into too much of a debate about it, obviously, because we're here to look at a licence, but I can assure you it is more complex than that. But I think that an important thing that's been said by the applicant's representative, and this is something I think, to take away, should some of your worst fears be realised, then, as a resident and other residents, then that there can be representations can be made to the council, and we can review the licence. So if there is antisocial behaviour related to this licence, if it should be granted, then we can review that at absolutely any point. If in 2 weeks' time the applicant is operating and your worst fears come to fruition, then we can review it at that time, and we would want to review it as well. So
how do we go about that? How would I make a complaint?
You would make a complaint to
anybody else?
Yeah.
I think you would have to contact the licensing team, and they would explain the procedure. It may be online, if on the website, how you make an application to review a licence. That gives the licensing committee different powers, such as suspending a licence or revoking a licence.
So it's not for you to go away and think, well, that's it. This could these terrible things could happen. It's done now. Licensing doesn't work like that. We have the ability to constantly review it should there be any evidence that brings that back forward. So I know that's obviously.
I understand what you're saying. It's difficult to comprehend because of what I'm witnessing each day and every day in Hexthorpe. So if we've got licences all over Hexthorpe, the whole place is just a mess. So as much as you're telling me we'll review things, I find it difficult to understand.
Yeah, I understand that, and I can't really go into any greater depth with things, and obviously Exthorpe has got its issues, we know that, but unfortunately it's kind of, you know, that this is not the place for those, some of those things, you know, they're not relevant to our licence and objectives. I understand that can be very frustrating as someone who's seeing things differently, but we've all tried to just give you those assurances, so we're now going to have to kind of, sorry, yeah, of course you can, Councillor Chapman.
Also in between, if there are occurrences, please report it to the police so that builds a picture up for yourself. In other places in Exthorpe, maybe there aren't people reporting things, I don't know. I don't know, I can't speak for those people, those persons. If people are reporting things, it needs sorting, and please report police and licensing, and then it can be reviewed. Sorry, that's what I can say.
So we've now listened to the licensing applicant and obviously objections. So the committee is now going to go into private session to deliberate. Members will now deliberate the application in private session, and all parties are asked to leave the room. Once we have reached our decision, you will be invited back into the meeting for the committee to present their decision. If you are unable to remain, please indicate now. Are you?
Can I just ask how long that may take?
Well, that's how long's a piece of string, really, isn't it? You know, I mean, we're not going to be hours, I wouldn't have thought. But
I don't know, I'm just restricted to probably 45 minutes before
I mean, I think I would imagine we'd be okay at that. I would imagine we'd be okay at that, yeah. So if everyone would like to leave the room, other than the committee and the officers, relevant officers.